Three, two, one. The following episode of the Anime Rest Stop Podcast addresses sensitive issues. This is not a pro everything, anti everything podcast. This is a think about everything podcast. So this episode in particular does not represent the views entirely of Anime Rest Stop, its associates, etc., etc. That's usually about the legal speak that goes about it. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the show. All right, folks. This is FoundersFoundry, and alongside me is returning for the first time in a while is none other than Fudgezilla, double O, Fudgezilla.
Hey, how you guys doing? Good to be back.
Welcome back. It's been a long time.
I'll say I'm back, but I'm still alive.
Well, hey, that's what's important. So, if anything, this particular episode of the Anime Rest Stop podcast is going to address something that hits home for a lot of people. Now, ARS, not a stranger to this particular matter, as Anime Rest Stop has hosted an important panel in its past. That being none other than Skin Deep, the diversity panel. And certainly enough, diversity is, in fact, the topic of this particular episode. And we're going to talk about those who are doing it right and those that are doing it wrong. Because
in our humble opinion.
In our most humble opinion.
Yeah.
And we want to certainly, even for our disclaimer, we want to certainly convey that we're coming from a good place. If anything, the fact that there are so many conversations happening now regarding diversity in everyday life, as well as respective industries, I think it's a grand thing to see that people are taking matters seriously, that people are engaged. It's something that certainly has been needed for some time. Now, it's whether some individuals or some entities are going about it the right way or even a little extreme. Because that happens. Sometimes we could go about achieving things and kind of stumbling in the process and cracking all those eggs to make that omelet. Then you look at, oh geez, look at the mess I created in the kitchen as a result.
Mm-hmm.
But rest assured, folks, that as this disclosure to Anime Rest Stop, the panel group that's been active since 2011, still doing it to today, that a lot of us definitely hold a special candle for this topic, for this subject, because we've all been affected to some capacity or another with regards to diversity or lack thereof in particular aspects of our lives. So, with that, and especially because the cultural, racial diversity in question is going to be pertaining to entertainment, and particularly the entertainment that we've come to enjoy over time, we're going to approach it with understanding and in care. We're going to have some fun too, but we're going to also approach it, with understanding. So That said, lately, Fudgezilla, there's been a lot of talk about representation in entertainment,
Oh yeah.
and in particular, it's been more prevalent in the voice acting scene. I uh, I think I think it's a good thing. I also think that with voice acting, it's voice acting is like music that is universal in that a voice can convey any range of emotion, and you have your range of voices. You have your gruff voices, your soft voices, and I think just people are a little more concerned about the owners of said voices. Um, for
Kind
me,
of weird thing.
yeah, you know,
Um,
um,
a little weird, but I mean, I get the sentiment. Here's the thing. The reason why it's a little complicated for me because it's one of those things where when you take the whole representation situation and apply it to TV, film, Hollywood stuff, right?
right.
That stuff is it's it's easier to navigate that because we're talking about your physical appearance is important to the character you're playing. Um, because it's like, yeah, you're going to be on camera. You should at least look like the character you're trying to play, right? That makes sense because it's like, well, if if the role calls for an Asian woman between the ages of like 18 and 24, you know, you can't have a big burly black dude showing up talking about this is discrimination, right?
You got a point there. Yeah.
But as far as voice acting goes, it's well, no one really sees you when you're in the booth, so the only way that I'll say ethnic background would come into play for a character is if the ethnic black background is a big part of that character. Examples would probably be like Black Panther. Being African is a big part of his character.
Or in this
Like,
case, Wakandan, since
yeah,
Wakanda has its own element to it. I always think over to the comics myself in particular, but 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 you do have a point to that. That like
yeah,
being black culture, like that's part of that character. And so, it's that character, the cultural traits, the whole ethnic aspect is a not just a huge part of the character, but such a majority of that character. But not every character is that character, that embodies like the pride of their country and the pride of their culture and embodies that. There's characters in the Marvel universe that are different, black characters that are different from Black Panther that don't have those traits.
mm-hmm.
You know, and they can be voiced by anybody or by given element
It's one of those things where what I like the
or
best
portrayed
about
in the different elements. Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah. Oh no, that's all good. What I like best about the concept of voice acting is the fact that you're not limited by your appearance at all. It's like, for example, let's see, an anime character. I don't know. Well, let's get an example of an ethnic anime character. Um, I guess
Well,
Chad from Bleach, since we're on that subject.
well, yeah, the most recent. So news. This happened about a little over a week now. Since Jameson Price, very well respected voice actor, known for roles across the board. Tenjo Tenge as Bob Makimara, Kokias as the uh, journalist, eccentric journalist, Dietrich. Um, and he's most recently he's been in other roles, of course, Persona 5, in a lot of video games, of course, he's Leo, the White Fang, and in Guilty Gear. He announced that he is no longer playing Chad from Bleach. Bleach recently returned this fall season for Thousand Year Blood War arc, which is the final arc in Bleach.
Mhm.
And it was a shock to people that he would not be reprising his role, and everyone wondered why. And he made a few Twitter posts to that effect, explaining his reason for stepping down. And gonna quote this verbatim, ladies and gentlemen, for this. To all the many fans of Bleach, I have loved being a part of the Bleach universe and voicing Chad. It was a difficult decision to say no to coming back for Thousand Year Blood War, but I no longer audition for roles of people of color. Representation matters, access matters. It goes further that I have had access to a wide variety, to a very wide variety of roles in my career. Actors use their imaginations and their experience to breathe life into the characters we portray. We get to walk in someone else's skin for a time. We practice empathy, we feel, and we learn. Access to opportunity in anime has not been equal, but that has changed. By stepping aside, now I open the door of access and give opportunity to an actor who can represent Yasutora Sado, with the same love and pride and imagination, but with more life experience than I have. Thank you for all the love and support you have shown me over the years. Please welcome Elaine Mesa to the role of Chad. He's got some big shoes to fill. Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. Maya Angelou. Jameson Price gave a huge baton and gave a great explanation as to why. I think it was very bold, and a lot of other people did as well. A lot of praise from those in Region 1 in the industry. Uh, Quite a few voice actors, among others, that gave him respect for doing what he's doing. Few fans did as well. There's some, as Jameson Price would go to quote, it's a lot of spirited conversation. This has started a spirited conversation, and some fans were a little vocal to saying, "Hey, you've been a great voice actor. This Chad is your character. You embody this role." Like, there are people like, I had no idea Jameson Price. Some people had a chance to actually see the voice behind Chad. Like, oh my goodness, I didn't know Jameson Price was white. Wow. But that's the magic of voice acting. That is
That's his talent. That's his level of talent. Like, and it's not just like really a level of talent. It just kind of goes to show like you can't pick someone's race out by their voice. That's all. And that's I think that's an excellent point toward like I think that's an excellent like point to kind of make where it's just like if I like if no one mentioned if he never mentioned stepping down and they just switched voice actors, would you really tell? Would you really be able to tell?
if I wasn't as engaged in the scene, I wouldn't have been able to tell. Like, because I've gone to the same events as Jameson Price,
Mm-hmm.
but so I'm aware of I'm aware of his identity, But if I wasn't as fully engaged and invested, and particularly into the dub scene, I would not know who he was if they switched voices. And I was just like a casual person to Bleach.
Mm,
Um, Now, Bleach holds a special place for me because that's how I would go to meet the old Otaku of the Mountain. That's how we
mm,
met, was through Bleach. And and with the characters um, that Jameson Price and others embodied and everything, such a great time and in a wonderful performance. Um, like others, I give him credit for just even putting it out in the ether that there had been, industry in the past had its trappings, and as he said, it has not been equal in his words, and I think that's a bold thing to do. I think it's a very bold thing to do.
It is. It takes a lot of courage to stand up to stuff like 'cause it's not easy. Like you can say like, well, you should always stand up to injustice. It's like people who have never really stood up for that don't understand how hard it is. And to be honest, with this situation, okay, this is how I feel. The reason I asked the question of whether or not you tell the difference between the two voice actors if nothing was said about the change, it kind of goes to the point where it's like, if the answer is no, you can't tell the difference, that's indicative of the new guy doing his job.
right, right,
You know
and
what I'm saying? So, which is basically, it's not really like passing a role off to somebody because they can't get it. It's like the way I think I'm understanding where he's coming from on some other stuff a little bit, because it's like, well, think about it. He's stepping down for other people to be able to have the access and opportunities, right?
right,
So it's kind of like him saying, "How long do I have to do this before I don't have to anymore?" Which is like basically the reason he's stepping down is because the people in the industry who are probably the ones that can change the things aren't doing anything. So he's like, "Oh, you won't do something, I will." So if you don't want to give people opportunities, then I'll do it.
oh
I'll
yeah,
do it.
oh yeah, and
Like,
oh yeah, that's
you know,
historically you're not wrong. Kind of like we were talking prior to start of this, and you know, when these sort of things happen in a given industry, those in industry have but so much power to do anything or talk about it. Like if you're a boxer, for instance, and in the case of Muhammad Ali with the Vietnam War, the promoters that may have been opposed to the Vietnam War, they're not going to talk about it. They got to make money. The coaches aren't going to talk about it. They got to train fighters. They got to make money. So in this case, Muhammad Ali, a touted fighter, he opposed the Vietnam War, and he opposed it on his faith, and he was punished for that. They stripped him of his titles. He went through some things for standing up for matters. Of course, that's of its own deal, highly political element and charged in that regard, but certainly enough a very noted thing when you see things that you don't agree with. And there's been a few things over the course of history that have shown that. Probably most recently was probably the most touted was that the athlete Kaepernick who took the knee,
hmm
and everyone, of course, that follows sports knows exactly what happened in that whole situation.
oh yeah,
Yeah. So as it relates to entertainment, entertainment's not new to these sort of elements because, of course, you've had writer strikes, actor strike for good reason. For better pay, better benefits, better opportunities. Safety, and all those things should be made available to those who are making the sacrifice of doing this kind of work, being away from their families, things of that sort, stressing themselves out physically, emotionally to do this sort of job. That said, um, it's when I think of voice acting as a whole, though, and when I think about just with diversity and and I hear the representation matters element, and I understand the sentiment. I also think to Dr. Martin Luther King's quote too, because I've talked about on this podcast one of my favorite books coming up was Strength to Love, and I think back to just one of his great quotes was, "It's not the color of one's skin, but the content of one's character." It's supposed to be the whole deal is supposed to be about what's inside, not outside. And I think for entertainment, like people enjoy, like for a lot of us who got into anime because it was different from standard fare, from standard American animation. Just the dynamic, the style. Um, and I think the identity, the cultural identity and everything came later, especially once you became aware of matters. Of course, depending on when you got into anime. Of course, I got into anime back in the heyday, like a lot of us, and before the Toonami years. So that was national syndication. So
Yes, we're that old.
yes, we're that old. Yes, so just so we know what a VCR is. We know what analog TV was like. Goodness. So yeah, we're that old. We are that old.
If you need
Um,
to know, if you ever need to learn how to program a VCR, just ask one of us.
oh, indeed, definitely. If you need help with your 56K modem, just let us know about that.
Yeah, my favorite method for 56K modems, like the best method I know of repairing them is, throw them in the trash.
Yeah, that is best deal, best deal. But Jameson Price is not the only one to go through this recently. There's been like a lot of that happening with the push for diversity in the spectrum, and certainly the most and just going down. Prior to him was Aaron Fitzgerald. You probably know Aaron Fitzgerald best from because you're a Persona fan, because she's Chie.
Oh yeah, Chie was like one of my favorite characters because of the whole kung fu aesthetic. I was
Yeah,
like, what? She's into Bruce Lee. Okay, that's what's up.
right. So she's Ramathal in well, she was Ramathal in Guilty Gear, and she
Was.
yeah, because apparently she stepping down because you know yeah. So there was
Isn't Ramathal just just like a brown skinned clone of like a paler character anyway?
yes. So that's the thing. Ramathal's not really. There's no real. Ramathal's like a Matt. Given Gear's world and everything, she's not really. She's not identified as black. Where you do have actual black characters in Guilty Gear,
Hmm. Venom.
like Venom, Giovanna, who's the new girl. I believe
Hmm.
the president of the United States in Guilty Gear is black in their story
Oh
mode.
man, so
Yes,
Guilty Gear has their own Obama.
yes, there you go. So there's a lot of other aspects of diversity there. Aaron Fitzgerald, of course, also great talent. Certainly selfless, a very selfless person to do that. But that's of note there. That's certainly of note. Not the only one. Of course, seasoned talent, Allison Court. Uh, she was Claire Redfield in the original Resident Evil in the original Resident Evil games back in the day when they had the tank controls. She, for a lot of us growing up, she was a Jubilee in the X-Men animated series until not that
I
long
still
ago.
remember a whole bunch of lines from that first episode from Jubilee. Like
Oh yes,
that's how iconic it is to me. It's like every time I use like, yeah, man, I use X-Men Jubilee, and every time someone mentions that, I just figure out one particular scene where like Sydenham tries to come after her, and she's like, "Target, gotcha, help!"
Exactly. It's so great. And it's because of her performance that brings that. But she's not Asian. And it felt like they wanted to go that route.
Neither is the actress who played Chung Li in Legend of Chung Li, but no one says anything about that.
Not yet. Not yet. That hasn't come up
Not
yet.
ever.
No, not yet, because it was awful.
Not
But
ever.
that
You
was
know
awful.
why? You know why? It's not because of any political reasons. Ooh, it's that bad. Who's gonna watch that to review it? Like, dude, I've seen better visual effects in like YouTube videos than like what they did with her special move at the end of that movie.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm
no problem.
sorry.
Nope, no,
Too much of a sidebar. My bad.
no problem. But no, it does. No, but that's still a fairly good point as it relates to matters of this discussion for
Mm.
diversity. But and of course, probably the most noted of these voice acting departures from roles is Hank Azaria from The Simpsons. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Apu.
yeah, for a long time since the show started, he has had this role. Since the show started, like Apu has been a cultural icon for ages. And is probably most as one of the more noted side characters in The Simpsons over time. When you look at those early seasons, especially for things that speak to global citizens, those from individuals from other countries that migrate to North America, and that element of the I remember in sociology they called it the amalgamation, uh, um, assimilation, amalgamation, um, association of cultures, and where Apu kept a lot of things about him as far as his heritage. He, persevered and worked hard and had a family. And a lot of key episodes with that character are still poignant today. But of course, that character, you know, huge problems the uh, in the Indian community, as was noted by a comedian that made a documentary about the problem with Apu, entitled "The Problem with Apu," and noting the sort of the what is called the brown voicing of um, of that archetype, and how other actors of Indian descent of would Indian of Hindu Indian heritage would come about, and they were asked in spots to do what was popular at the time. And The Simpsons was a popular show. And of course, part of it, of course, was Bart, and the quote, eat my shorts, don't have a cow. And then when you didn't have the Bart quotes going about, you had the other characters. And one of those characters that stood out was Apu.
They had one episode where they actually kind of it was like the whole episode, like toward the end, was about everyone having a catchphrase. And there
And
was this one sequence when like all the different characters of Simpsons popped out on camera just to say their catchphrases all one after the other. It was kind of, the episode was kind of, you but I get I get, like, the effect of Apu as a character. It's an excellent point, because every time you had like a character of Indian descent, it's not that they all had an accent. No, they all had Apu's accent.
right,
I've met plenty of people of different cultures, and sure, you might mean like here, like it's really culturally diverse. Like I run into like people of any descent all the time. Like sure, some of them have accents, some of them don't, and it's not like they all sound like Apu. No, they all sound different. They're different people with different voices, different tones, with the same accent, and it's gonna sound different with each person. So I do agree that like with the problem with Apu wasn't the problem. The problem was everyone thought that if I have an Indian character, they have to sound like Apu and no one else. That I can understand why that would set people off.
Oh yeah,
Just kind of like how Africans would feel if like everyone assumed that every single African person talked like Michael Blackson.
oh yeah, oh boy, yeah, yeah. And don't get me wrong, that was the whole deal of the time, the style of the time, and even for this era of where comedians are unfortunately um, being targeted in spots as far as their opinions, their outspoken nature. Michael Blackson had that element about him. His whole gimmick was the stereotypical coming to America type of archetype. That was the whole thing. Accent, the hair, the outfit, everything.
And when I think about it in terms of like anime voice acting, right?
Yes.
There's not a lot of that. In fact, what I've seen when it comes to just general when it comes in general when it comes to just like, things that the characters say, it's never on some there's never a vocal stereotype, like at least from what I've seen. When it comes to like the way characters are voiced, what I noticed over the years is just like a great amount of care put into it from not just the writers but the voice actors themselves, especially the voice actors actually. Um, in fact, a good example would probably be ADV. They like the amount of historical research they dug into just to dub Chrono Crusade. It's like
You got a point there. You got a point there. And that's just been and it's been like an evolution step, even from ADV to funny over the years, got to that point as well. Just really taking in the material. Um, it's you don't really like unless the role itself is just that, you don't really see that spot. You don't really see too many of those like outrageous um, elements that you see in like live action material. Um, that said, it's it just goes to like I get why all those like the talent, especially in the case to to Hank Azaria's spot, like he stepped down from a role that literally was, he plays a lot of roles on The Simpsons, so that's one of many. But by stepping down, that character essentially has been, quietly, you know, negated to a backdrop character, the background character, because character hasn't had a speaking role in years since,
yeah.
yeah. Um, it's it's
It's
a
kind of what they did with like the old Looney Tunes characters that were super offensive, too offensive for like a modern audience. Like, when was the last time you saw a Speedy Gonzalez cartoon?
I mean, I believe Speedy Gonzalez. I want to say I haven't seen a Speedy Gonzalez cartoon, but I think he was in actually the new one of the newer Looney Tunes elements, but they changed him up a little bit. Like I think he's nowhere near as nowhere near because we grew up on that stuff, when it
Oh,
they showed it
yeah.
back in the day, but
I
he's
had no
not.
idea how many terrible Mexican stereotypes they put on that mouse. Like, I didn't realize it until I was an adult. I was like, yo, he basically the messed up stereotypes is like one of the one really bad stereotype is like Mexican men like to sleep around, and Speedy Gonzalez is known for sleeping with people's sisters.
Apparently, that was a thing. I actually forgot that.
There was one point, it was like, Speedy Gonzalez, he's like, yeah, Speedy. He's like, Speedy Gonzalez was with my sister. And he's like, Speedy was with everybody's sister. Ha, 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 ha. And I was like, yo, if I was Mexican, I'd be mad. What?
Well, there's a well,
What if Boondocks was written by a white dude? That wouldn't.
that'd be kind of. kind of fierce.
What make it bad? It's not like it would make it a bad thing. It would just be like, I bet you there'd be a group of black people going, "Who gave him a pass?"
So
Sorry.
so apparently, since then, which is funny, we're talking about Speedy Gonzalez. So Speedy Gonzalez has been not only around lately because they managed to bring him back and make things work. You know, last big element was a Space Jam Legacy, Space Jam New Legacy, played by Gabriel Iglesias. So,
Mm.
yeah, and then you have apparently a Speedy Gonzalez film that's in the works. Of course, that will depend on its own element, so there's that. But getting as it relates to it to the anime side, um, it's voice acting. I've always enjoyed the fact that, you know, with voice acting, you can so many different talents come out of the mix, and you just never know. And I love the fact that for all the trouble that the pandemic brought, it also brought a range of talent to the mix. Talent that never would have had the opportunity, probably in normal circumstances. There's some of which may have even taken longer, given delays and just the standards of the business, you know, prior to COVID and looking at it from 2-3 years ago to where it is now. It's like two different worlds altogether. At the same time of that, I feel that for those who champion the representation side, I don't want to see good talent punished for things that aren't their fault. That's my concern. Is all the people we named are really good talents that are being in some ways either just stepping down willingly in the case of Jameson Price, like no one's forcing him, but I just feel like, or any of the others for that matter, because they all stepped down. But I just feel like just with the hyper politicization that we're this hyper era that we're in now, hypersensitive, hyper politicized era that we're in, has really made it where no one wants to be no one wants to be an enemy of progress at all of any kind. And so before that happens, it just feels like these things are happening in groves, and
Yeah.
I feel like because it just feels like with this, and I could be wrong, that I just feel like there are spots of this for all the people who mean well, talking about the fans and those that champion these causes or want to see these things happen. I feel like there's a lot that you know doesn't mean well in that regard, but because it looks a certain way, they want to champion it, and I think it goes really over to something or we talk about with Adam, who leads us in Rest Stop and definitely in helps matters a lot of different things, and I think he said it best. It's about learning the characters, and in the sense of for the people, for the fans, lure of the characters is what matters. The understanding of their history matters, not so much what they look like. And if the loud voices can't bother learning the lore of the people they champion and want to see, the hell with them. You know,
I think it's important to pay attention to the lore. I
right?
mean, not paying attention to the lore is how Mr. Popo became blue.
Yeah, that's
Um,
oh yeah, I remember those days.
sorry. I think, and the funny thing is, it's like that's the same reason that Disney's Aladdin's genie is blue. It's the exact same reason. Um,
Right. No, you're right.
it's because the American public can't tell the difference between East Indian culture and American culture because they're like they don't know the difference. Like if basically they think that the jinn in Middle Eastern culture is the same as the minstrel in in American culture, right?
Right. The
And
blackface
that's
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So they're like, Mr. Popo was blackface, and it's like, but okay.
It's not. It's
But
not. That's
yeah,
it's not.
but going back to the voice thing, I don't have a problem with people stepping down because to me, that is someone consciously making a choice and an effort to do right. Like, I get it. It's not like they're doing something that's also going to be detrimental at the same time. It's more of the worst thing that can happen out of this situation is that your favorite character is voiced by somebody who you can't get used to. That's about it. Like, that's not a big deal. It depends on how big of a fan you are of that voice actor. Because if you're the type of person who's like, I can recognize that voice anywhere, and if it's not his voice in that character, I'm going to be mad. Then I can understand. That's nothing but fandom love right there. They're like, I support my favorite voice actor. I get it. That's cool. It's like you said, like, it only gets dangerous when people are forced into those positions.
Oh yeah.
Now, if people were like having like some sort of outcry on Twitter that this guy needs to abandon this role now and give it up, then I'd have a problem with that because I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
so now we're basically forcing people out of work in the name of diversity. I don't really think that. I think like I'm not gonna say across the board it's a bad idea because there are some people who shouldn't be at certain jobs with like how they operate. I get it, but I'm just glad that right now in anime voice acting, it's not a outcry for people to lose their roles because they don't look enough like the character they're voicing, or for whatever reason. Because it's not necessarily about looks.
Exactly. Because that's a weird rabbit hole to step down. Because if Jameson Price is if it's a whole thing of looks and everything, and not just looks, but also just the general ethnicity, the cultural element. Okay, so if that's the case, there are people really going to hold it to like to other voice talents that don't look like their respective characters, or don't share the same ethnicity as their characters, or don't share the same experiences as their characters, don't even share now mind you, don't share the same species as some of their characters. You
That would
know,
be kind of wild. Like if you're casting for Pokemon and it's like you don't look enough like a fish.
right? Because we gotta make sure that the fish are represented.
It's like,
Fish lives
first of
matter.
all, if I was a fish, I wouldn't be able to repeat Goldeen 30,000 times. Make up your mind.
Right? Like I just don't want to see like situations where you know
Someone's
pe
forced to do it.
people are forced to do it, or they're forced to apologize for things that they did in the past as far as roles. Like Steve Bloom, who we have met, I have met a few times, and Steve Bloom is a traveler of time and space to be where he has been, because he's had over 1,000 lines. Man is 1,000 rules. Uh, Definitely has done it all. Now Steve Bloom has played a lot of interesting roles, including just let's look at it, just the base element. He's not only been Spike Spiegel, a bounty hunter, hitman for the mob, but he's been, an iconic street fighter of Native American heritage. He's T-Hawk, and on top of it, this
And
one,
Dhalsim.
he's been That's right, Dulcine in Street Fighter 2V.
And he's actually Dhalsim in all the Street Fighter animations.
Oh, that's right.
Because
Oh,
he was in the animated movie as Dhalsim.
oh wow. That's right. He was
Like most of the people in Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, were in 2D.
which was good, which was very accurate. No, you're right. See,
Especially if you who played Bison, that's like my favorite voice. That was one of my favorite voice actors back in the day. I was like, yo,
me too.
he
But on top of it,
delivers the best. Sorry,
but even more so than that, Steve Blum has played the Red Skull.
has he?
Yes, in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes
Oh
cartoon.
snap!
He played Steve Bloom, who, you know, to my knowledge, is of Jewish heritage,
Hmm.
played the Red Skull. So talent emerges in all these places. Like he's not. It tells the story there. Tells the story there, and I just don't. I feel like, and even for there's so much of a range here, and I just I want to see and want to hear the best talents possible for dubs, and you know I don't want for all the good that's happening. I just don't want to see bad happen out of that.
Nobody does.
You know.
I mean, and the thing about this thing, like, I don't really have like a like I said, if you feel you need to step down, more power to you. Because I'm not gonna, at first I was like, I may not agree with it, but I'm not gonna judge how somebody like fights their battles.
Sure.
Because the thing is, I can see what good can come out of it, and I know that that's, they're trying to get good to come out of what they're doing. So it's not like they're doing their best. They're doing their best with the influence and power. Voice
No,
talents.
no, you're right.
I can't, and the thing is, I can't hate on it because when they were like, well, they're switching Chad's voice actors because the original stepped down in the name of diversity. It's like, well, that's cool, and more power to you. But the new hearing it was like here's the thing. I don't really watch Bleach, so that's why I don't have a big opinion on this. And even when I did watch Bleach, Chad was not really a character that I was like, he's not one of my favorites. Not to say he isn't a good character, it's just not one of my favorites. And if they changed his voice without telling me, I wouldn't notice. And I shouldn't have to notice because if they switch voice talents without saying anything and I don't figure it out, that means that the new guy did his job. So
This is touted, and the new guy, Elaine Elaine Mesa, is certainly a solid talent. Has a few key roles in his name, and now he has quite a heck of a solid deal, to
I
boot.
say let him, you know,
Yeah,
um,
huge boost.
like yeah, and honestly, we like for me, it's like you can even take out the context of diversity and just say, you know what, he's helping another voice actor get a leg.
That's really
He,
it.
like no matter what context you put it in, he's doing a good thing. At the end of the day.
Oh
Like
yeah,
he's even if it wasn't even if there wasn't like a diversity problem, it'd still be helping out a fellow voice actor. So I don't really I can disagree with it, but I'm not disagreeing with it because I think he's doing wrong. It's like I just disagree with it because I'm like, well, I don't think you should walk away from work, but the guy has plenty of it. It's not like he's
right.
going to be starving if he walks away from Chad, the role of Chad. Because look at his resume.
Yeah,
Like
heck of a resume.
he'll be like that's like it's kind of like going like, man, Bill Gates just quit Microsoft and he's moving to a city full of technology. However, will he survive? Like so. Yeah, more power to him. And if that's the way that he wants to fight his injustices, hey, if you're fighting injustice by helping somebody get more work, I'm like, man, I have a tough time figuring out bad things to say about you at that point. It's
No,
like the
you
worst thing I can say about him at this point. Oh, dare you? What am I supposed to say? You nice guy? You
right.
stand-up person? You?
Yeah, the point. I
You
mean,
you evil saint-like person? Like,
it's all coming from a good place. It just as it relates to matters. I just to that. like I said, I just want to see good things happen. I don't want voice actors, because of just the era that we're in. I don't want them having. I don't want to see some of my favorites have to pay the price for something that's not their fault. Like unless
I
unless
don't
some
see.
unless someone's like malicious in their element, like nobody should it shouldn't even have to come to that, you know?
I don't know, man. The anime community is pretty good about putting ill-intentioned people in their place.
This is true. There's literally articles on that. But to that element, and we talk about, putting things in their place. Um, we talk about people doing diversity wrong. In this case, we see there are others that are doing it quite well with the voice acting community and how the talent there is handling matters. Um, in terms of
Diversity would be easy. Just don't be a racist.
yeah, don't be a
Don't be
racist.
a racist jerk.
Right. Don't be a, and that goes all sides now. That goes all sides more than what people perceive. Um, I would say, as it relates to matters, that's a that's an example of doing diversity right. Now, how do you do diversity wrong? That actually gets us to um, our our next topic of discussion, and that would be the spoiler-free uh, review, recap, whatever you'd like to call it, of a film that's been making the rounds lately, since last week. And that is Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. So, this is the seventh and last film of Phase 4, the 30th film in the MCU since the Marvel Cinematic Universe started with Iron Man in 2008. 14 years ago. This film is the 30th of this whole element of this run. Long time. So
Pretty crazy.
yeah,
I mean,
kind of scary. Getting up there. Getting up
well,
there.
I mean, it's kind of scary to think that the entire lifespan, like, well, I won't say the entire, but there's going to be a point where the lifespan of the MCU is going to go across someone's entire lifetime.
It keeps going
Like,
like this, yeah.
somebody was born in 2008 and will be watching Marvel films until they die.
Yeah, point.
That's
Yeah.
how long that's how far they've come. It's like Endgame was an event.
Huge event.
Like, wasn't just a movie release, that was an event.
A massive event. Some people would say it was the event of all big blockbuster films. Some would say like that's the very peak of Marvel in film form. Like a lot of people say that's it. Like they can't surpass Endgame. Like it's just going to be kind of a slope. They hit that they had their peaks and valleys. They had that peak, and now they're down in this valley. That's what some say. Last time that Anime Rest Stop covered uh, the Marvel Cinematic Universe was WandaVision when that started on Disney Plus.
Hmm.
So that's been a little while since we covered anything really Marvel related. So this is the first time back in a
Okay.
long time. Um, and of course, of all the things and all the accolades listed for this film is just that the sequel to the original Black Panther that came out in 2018. So big event. How do people want to celebrate it? Do some people like talk about it? Well, this is where the aspect where you do diversity wrong. So apparently, there's been a TikTok seems to be a hub for a lot of things, and apparently, a TikTok content creator decided to call out a lot of white people, saying, "Hey," and I'm paraphrasing for this
Yeah.
one, that if white people, if you love us and if you are our allies, then you will not go see Black Panther. Black Panther is a film for for black people, for us. That if anything, if you're going to buy a ticket, that you should give it to a black family. You give it to a black person. If you want to support, you should uh, be around to make sure nobody messes with us at the theaters.
Oh, sorry. I don't.
And
I don't.
so there's a lot of moving parts to that. So I'm going to stop just on that element because there's a lot there that I was just like, really, what? So
That's
let's
kind of
start.
why I was
There's
laughing a little bit.
no problem. No, it's right to laugh because it's ridiculous. So here's where you're doing diversity wrong. You do not alienate people from the thing that is supposed to be the hub that brings people together, and that also celebrates a particular element of, you know, the culture that is supposed to embody you. That's not exactly what you call a beneficial element. So you don't say you don't do that. You do the polar opposite and say, no, please come to the movie. Buy your ticket, buy your friends' tickets, buy everyone's ticket and come to the movie. That's what you that's what you do. You do the opposite of what this young lady was doing here.
But it is kind of funny to me because it's kind of like, yeah, you're not allowed to see this movie, but buy me a ticket.
No, by other people, and then to assume that, oh, just all black people would like to go see. There are black people I know personally that can't stand the Marvel films. They're like, I think the stuff is
Just,
kiddie and kind of dumb. Like, I don't care for Black Panther. I think he's lame. He's not Blade. It's not cool. I know people like that who have said that. Like, look, no offense. Look, more power to y'all, but he ain't Blade. I ain't feeling this.
some people don't. There's black people out there who don't really care about the Black Panther film, and that's fine.
No, no.
I mean, I certainly care about the Black Panther film because I enjoyed it, and Chadwick Boseman is awesome, and rest in peace to the homie because man, like finding out all the stuff that he was doing despite having stage 4 cancer, just like that. Wow, like he has stage 4 cancer and he's going around visiting sick children. Like that's what he was doing in his spare time.
Exactly.
Like they're making fun of like people were online making fun of like how skinny he was getting, and they're like, oh, and then they found out he had stage 4 cancer, and it's like not only did he have stage 4 cancer, but he was visiting sick children and making them feel better about themselves.
Exactly.
But yeah, let's make fun of this man who's sick and dying because like come on, stop.
Exactly.
Um,
Stop. Chadwick Boseman was champion of the world, taken in his prime, and
mm,
definitely gave everything he had to that role into everyone, and he got a heck of a career. For those
he's a good
that,
guy.
oh yeah, great guy, and a lot of people didn't know when they learned they were horrified. And of course that stuff hits differently once you realize, oh man, and others, and there were others that figured, okay, maybe he's getting into that deal for another role he's doing. Maybe it's something else that, he's getting ready to do and he can't talk about it yet because there's an NDA and nobody had any idea. No one.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, and honestly, I can't blame him too much because I mean, Chris Evans has done it. 50 Cent has done got really scrawny for a role. Like I remember 50 Cent got super scrawny to play a cancer patient one time.
oh, that's right. One of those films. Wow. Wow.
So I mean, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to make the assumption that maybe Chadwick was prepared for a role at the time. But as far as this film goes, like when it comes to the whole if you're white, you can. It's like first of all, like I said, like I've said this before. I was like, yo, the answer to the representation problem can't be segregation.
Exactly. No, that's that does not help. You do not fight fire. You do not fight fire with more fire. That is counterproductive. Is get out. You just let's make a rolling whirlwind of flames. No,
Yeah,
no.
I mean,
Pour more gasoline. That will help.
no, no one's gonna listen to that anyway. Like seriously, and not, like the funniest thing about
I would
like
hope
that
not. I would
ban
hope
is
not. But it trended. It
I
got
don't
it
enforce it.
trended. It trended. It got
I mean, yeah, it trended, but
it.
my question
News
is, how do
sites
you
picked it
plan
up.
to how do you plan to enforce that? Like,
I don't know.
literally gonna stand in front of a movie theater and block customers. That like, and that's another thing. It's like when people go, only black people should see this movie. And it's like, yo, if I were an executive at Disney, right,
Right.
and everybody was preparing for the release of Black Panther 2, someone got up there and was like, all white people should stay home for the for opening weekend. I'm like, I'd be mad because I'm like, yo, why are you scaring away my customers?
Yeah.
Like
Once again,
that's what it is. You're scaring away the customers. It's like everybody who would have gone to see the movie isn't gonna go see it because they're afraid of you. Like,
counterproductive is get out.
how is that respecting Chadwick Boseman's memory by making less people go see the sequel to Black Panther? I don't understand that. Like, and people are like, well, it's like we're called minorities for a reason. If we're the minority in this country, that means a bunch of us probably would make good bank, but not as much bank if everybody showed up.
And mind you, these movies are made for everybody. So the whole this movie is our movie thing is dumb in this podcaster's opinion. Kind of dumb considering the
Yeah.
expense. It's kind of I get
No,
I get where some people are trying to say. I
yeah.
get it. But some of this whole possessive thing, like, no, it's not your
You didn't
thing.
make this.
It's not, you didn't make it. It's not your thing. It's not my thing. It's Disney's thing. It's a movie. It's a product. It's not a social revolution. It may have some cues and things you like about it. It may even give you a message or two sprinkled in, but it's not a social revolution. And unfortunately, I think there are some people that are so engrossed in the element they mistake that for the reality. And that's not like what you see there on the screen is not the reality. It's it's the fantasy that's there to entertain you. The fact of the matter is to say it's our movie and quote our movie, the possessive term that's used, and deny the fact of so many people of different cultures and different ethnicities that worked on this movie and other Marvel movies, not to mention the financing, by the way, which that's not a for us, by us deal. So there you go. Take that for what it's worth. But I just think the whole super possessive thing is kind of crazy at this point. And these movies are made for everybody to enjoy. Could you imagine the reverse of that? If that had been for, well, the next Dragon Ball movie is just for select people and not other people.
Oh
It's, it,
man, that
yeah,
would be a
that's not,
super dangerous president to set, man. Because it's like there's so many movies. Like, could you imagine, like, talking about what movie can I use? The Gray Man, right?
yeah,
Imagine if The Gray Man came out in theaters and it's like for the first week only white people can watch this movie.
right. No, that's insane.
Like,
Like you don't do that. No, no, you
it's
know.
just as ridiculous with the Black Panther thing. It's like opening weekend, only black people are allowed to see this movie, and it's like, um, you know, they tried doing that in the '60s, and we had a civil rights movement about something like this. Why are we starting up?
Right. He's like,
Right.
why are we going backwards when we should be going forwards? This shouldn't even be a thing. People should look at people who go about this like crazy people and go, man, you've got mental issues. You need help. Like that.
No one's saying that racism doesn't exist anymore or anything like that. It's just saying yo, just don't fight fire with fire. If someone's being a mean white supremacist, you don't have to be a mean whatever supremacist of your whatever race you are, whatever. You don't have to like get more racist than that person. Just walk away, because
Right.
nah. But if you're seeing injustice, like they're seeing in the anime industry, I'm fighting it in my own, that's fine. But with Black Panther, it's like you're not fighting injustice by demanding segregation on opening weekend.
Exactly. That's insane. You're asking for disaster. That's just absolute disaster. That being said, to talk about Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever. So, I saw the movie. You haven't seen it yet.
Nice.
So just as part of our spoiler-free review element. So, was the movie good? Yeah. Yeah, I watched it. I thought it did its job. It did its job pretty well. It set out to you know, do a couple things, and especially where it hit most, it did. Now, was it a great movie? No. Was it a great movie? But a very good movie. Close to it. Close. Now, did it have very good to great things in it? Yeah, it did. It did. I would say they even did a few bold things that I did not expect. So now was it better than the first film? Yes and no. There's some things where from the first film that were improved upon, but you know there's one thing that's particularly missing, and that's different. And I think we all know that. So pros for this, the acting was very solid. Action was fairly effective this time around. And some of the new additions to the MCU stood out. Uh, this one definitely had a tone, of change and grief. Musical score was great. CGI was very good. If you remember the first Black Panther movie, uh, that last epic battle was more of a PS2 cutscene.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm fine with Black Panther as a whole with the Black Panther movie. The actors and the drama that it set out to do was fine, even though it's kind of akin to the Lion King in a way, but it worked. It delivered where it needed to, and the presence was very felt there. But that fight scene at the end of the first film is very PS2, very PS2. Not so much here, not so much in this movie. It's actually improvement. Um, Cons for this film, this one had a few pacing issues. Um, because and the pacing issues were mainly because of its runtime.
What was the
Uh,
runtime?
Runtime is 2 hours and 46 minutes.
Oh, dude, go for it.
Yeah, that and the fact, of course, when you see it in theaters, you have those advertisements, the previews. So yeah, that's pretty much 3 hours. And of course, biggest con was the loss of Chadwick Boseman. You know, so that's a con that nobody could help. And I think a lot of things changed with Boseman's passing, not just in Marvel, but a lot of other things too. Uh, now, is it one of the better movies in Phase 4? Yes. For me, I would put this film, let me see. I have Spider-Man No Way Home is my number one. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is my number two. So, for all the things this film set out to do, I actually put it at number three. Wakanda Forever is number three for me. So that's those are my top three. Uh, all in all, uh, you know, I mean, near 3 hour trek, grief and grit, with that signature flair, but they had strong performances in it. Angela Bassett was great. Tisha Wright was very good, and they had some well placed stuff here. Um, Black Panther's still a draw. They still have to keep doing it. Black Panther is still a draw. Still, that's a particular part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And just to make it to this, the fact this film made it is something. Because if they had canceled that film, I don't think anybody could have blamed them. Your lead star's gone. COVID at that point hit. A lot of delays. Letitia Wright, who's lead here, she got hurt on set doing this film, and in between matters, but they still made it to the end, made it to the end of the race. It's like having your favorite football team make it to the Super Bowl, and the star quarterback gets killed week before the big game, and the coach is so bereaved he can't call anything. So it's like the sub and the assist coach having to step up. That's exactly what this was.
Yeah, and I think Disney did the smart thing on this decision making of Black Panther after Chadwick passed. Because remember at first they were saying, well, we're not recasting him, and they stuck to that, which is good. They're like, we're not gonna recast him, and then the people started coming out and saying, oh, we'd be okay with it, and it was like, well, if some people were saying that they're okay with the casting, how would they feel with us just not recasting but continuing the story anyway?
Well,
people loved it.
Yeah,
and we have Black Panther too. At least that's my theory.
No, that's a good theory. I mean, I certainly can understand both sides of the argument, especially after we had. As time went on after Chadwick's passing, William Hurt passed away, and he played Thunderbolt Ross in the MCU. He was
William Hurt. Oh,
yep.
Shoot, he passed away?
Yes, he did. Yep, he died. His last film was Black Widow.
Oh, that sucks. I remember he was in Doctor Who.
Yeah, he's good there.
He was in it was like a special episode where 3 versions of Doctor Who converged into one timeline and met each other and had to help each other get to where it was insane. It was an insane episode, but William Hurt played the older version of all of them.
Oh.
And he's pretty good at that. And I was just of course, Thunderbolt Ross, you know what I'm saying? That's very sad.
It's very sad, but they recast Thunderbolt Ross because Harrison Ford's playing him now.
Harrison Ford?
Yes.
Well, it's not like he can play Han Solo anymore.
Well, that's okay. He's going to be Indiana Jones soon, so it balances out.
But lore, lore-wise, canon-wise, it's you can never play Han Solo unless they do a flashback thing.
Well, that or a reboot. I mean, they've introduced stuff in Star Wars, so I imagine anything's possible in that regard. But with Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, good film, very good film. Worked through a lot of stuff. It's in the fact they're moving forward, with everything. I mean, it's all up to the fans. The fact that this is, the second one's out, and this film's out, and it's making its rounds. And if matters will continue, that's up to the fans. It's up to those ticket sales to decide that.
I'm just waiting for it to hit Disney Plus so I can check it out because, I know that Well, especially with the winter time right now, you got COVID, you have, oh my gosh,
A lot of things. There's a lot of things.
yeah, COVID, flu, what is it, RSV?
Yeah, yep. The
Like,
respiratory virus. Yes, yes.
yeah, they are. So basically, this winter is a triple threat. So I'm like, I'll wait for Disney Plus to release it.
Hey, I can't blame you on that one. It's better to be safe. And hey, if they're making that available, why not? Uh, Now, on that note, folks, um, as we've seen through matters, there's a way of diversity being done right and being done wrong. So, for those, if you want to show diversity, do it by doing the little things. Um, do it by helping those less fortunate than yourself. You know, you look at yourself in the mirror and really start to go from there because you have to be a better person than you were yesterday and all the flaws and misgivings and things. You have to cast that aside if you want to, embark and do something like really meaningful. Because how can you do that if you're holding on to your own elements, your issues, whatever they may be? Diversity starts at home. It starts with every one of us each morning when we look in the mirror and see the person on the other side. You can't change the world if you still have all those flaws. So, you know, you can change laws, you can ban people, you can cancel them like we see all the time. You cancel here, cancel there, cancel everywhere. But true change comes inside, and I think that's it. You got to change the hearts of people. You can change laws, you change everything, but until you change the hearts of people, you haven't done anything. So,
And, um,
and then
and
at the end of the day, we're all people. We're all people. We're all the same. At the end of the day, we all, you know, on a base, most people want to be happy. They want to be accepted. They want to, share in some of the moments that make life worth living. And that transcends color. That transcends, you know, black and white and all this other nonsense. It's you know it's an overall thing. It's something that especially with this spectrum, with the geek spectrum, like this is about bringing those interests, mutual interests together, not splicing them up and dicing them up and putting them against each other. You know,
I mean, I think that should be the goal of entertainment, bring people together. I mean, honestly, I see that as like the concept. I see that as the concept for comedy shows. It's like we're all here to laugh. Okay, like we're here to enjoy each other's company and laugh our butts off, and forget all the like crap and BS that's outside of the theater. Like let's just listen to this comedian like crack jokes for an hour and be happy. It's just like a Marvel movie. Let's just sit down and enjoy this movie and be happy.
definitely.
Being black has nothing to do with whether or not your butt should be in that seat. It's not. It's do you want to watch Black Panther? Yes, buy a ticket. Period. That should be the end of the discussion. Hey, do you want to watch Black Panther? Yeah. Well, you should buy a ticket unless you're a white person. It's like really.
Exactly. Just that there. You just said it best. And lastly, I think if anyone wants to look at like, okay, bringing people together of different races, creeds, and codes. One person recently who passed away did that in his way, and that was through the lens of photography. Uh, Kevin Lillard. passed away recently, and a lot of the community, anime community, those who knew him well, came together to pay tribute online. Lots of online tributes. Uh, Kevin Lillard has a long track record of being a touted photographer in the cosplay scene. Uh, was a reporter in his right, freelance writer across a number of different magazines, such as Super Manga Blast. I remember very well. He wrote for that. Some of his photos showed up there, if I recall. In fact, you ran into him once or twice.
Yeah, actually, a few times. Um, like I didn't get to really know him like on a personal level, but every time I see him, he's just like in a crowd of people just enjoying conversation, taking his photos, doing his thing. Um, I remember one time he actually had like a professional camcorder, so he's doing some videography too. At that one particular Otakon. I forget which year it was, but I just remember every time I saw him, he had a smile on his face.
Oh yeah,
Real
definitely.
laid back, real chill, like got along with everybody. That's kind of the reason why I never got to talk to him because I was surrounded by people in the middle of deep in conversation, so it was like it'd be kind of rude to kind of bust in just to say hello. But I was just like, yeah, it was always cool. He will be missed.
Oh, immensely so. Very good person who just saw fans and a lot of the cosplay community mourning him. Those who literally grew up, um, with him. Those that were fortunate to have photos taken by him and everything. It nothing but wonderful things to say about him. A kind man who certainly uh, did not show any bias whatsoever. He saw people as people, and he saw this fandom in its prime, actually, from the '90s into the aughts. Um, Seeing what fandom would eventually become in his photos is definitely a walk through time and a great walk at that. So definitely check out ANN for articles and check out his Facebook, which I believe is managed by his family, um, to see and show appreciation for someone that has given a lot uh, to the fan spectrum as a whole for cosplay, for anime, for the overall. Um, Rest in peace, Kevin Lillard. Thank you for everything. In terms of taking a lot of those pictures and holding on to those memories and playing a role, certainly enough in what the true meaning of diversity, and that's celebrating those differences together, and you see that in his photos. On that note, that will conclude this special episode of the Anime Rest Stop podcast. We will be back soon. We'll have actually two more specials that will end the year for us, and we will return promptly in 2023 for more fun, more excitement, and a couple other things that we have in the books. So definitely check us out on Facebook, maybe Twitter. I don't know because Twitter's kind of not looking so well right now. Um,
Looking
Twit
at you, Elon.
check us out on Twitch, and let's see anywhere else that you can find. Ah, can I forget our new home in Instagram? Make sure to check us out there. Of course, wherever you listen to podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, definitely check us out there, as well as YouTube. like and subscribe, folks. Fudgezilla Double O, where can people find you these days?
Um, well, I'm not really active on social media right now. Lots of stuff going on, but I'm still hanging on at Twitter, so yeah, I guess Twitter for now, unless unless Elon gets his way, but yeah.
Well, just make your last tweets count. And that goes for everyone else going into the fray here. Make your last tweets count in regards to that. But for now, that concludes this particular installment of the Anime Rest Stop Podcast. Safe travels, everybody. We will see you again soon.
Take care.